Our taxes are rising each and every day. So people don't have money in their pockets because even the businesses themselves, they don't have anywhere to go to borrow to do the business.
Over 50% of workers in like 4 companies, multinational, are set to lose their job. And some of these companies are Procter & Gamble, G4S, Australian-based titanium.
That is what the government is doing, is pushing people outside its tax bracket to innovate ways of how they can earn without the influence of...
Okay, so let's talk about the economy. He pointed out some key issues to discuss about the economy specifically. So the first thing, he talked about we had an increase in growth rate at 5.6% last year.
Yeah.
And this year, we are projecting a 5% growth increase. There is a growth in our foreign exchange reserves.
Yes.
We have the Kenyan currency vis-a-vis the dollar currency has gained value.
Yeah.
Last year, when you talked about last year, remember 2023, there is a time our currency lost value.
Yes.
It became weaker and weaker to the point it reached out at 160 Kenya shillings versus the dollar.
Yeah.
And there is a point of concern in that, especially in that statement.
Yeah.
So last year we talked about issues like global crisis. They're the ones that were affecting, currencies becoming weaker and weaker, and the economy in general.
Yeah.
Some of the issues were Ukraine war versus Russia. We talked about the Israel war and the Palestine. And today, the government is taking credit on the gain in value now from 160, trading from 160 to 130 currently. So the government wants to take credit on it that it is because of the government, policies, and I can say they are good job in terms of economic growth. It has made this currency to gain value. Now it's like we are forgetting there is still war going on in the two countries.
Yeah.
We still have some other issues in terms of global crisis. Talks about things like chicken pox. Is it chicken pox or the other disease that it has been becoming rampant. So, what do you think the government is trying to do in that aspect?
Okay. I think basically when it comes to maybe now strengthening the currency, there are a number of things that the government can do.
Yeah.
Because you remember there was a time just this year, early this year, they were able to buy back the euro bond, which could actually also help in strengthening the currency. So maybe that is one thing that they could have done, which could have helped in terms of strengthening the currency. But if you look at the economy in general, we would say that there is a lot of, I can just say that too much is going on underground, which is not approved of in terms of monetary or fiscal policy. Because if you remember recently when Donald Trump won the elections, we saw several world currencies depreciating against the dollar. But here is a case where the Kenyan currency remained stable. Amidst world currencies going down. Our Kenyan currency remained very, very, very stable at that moment. So that tells you that our market is not under economic forces, the natural economic forces. There are a lot of things that the government could be doing that are necessarily not approved of to ensure that they have talking points. So it's all about talking points maybe for them to maybe woo the public that we have done something and our currency is now stronger. But are they able to tell people what they have done? That is the question.
That is the question,
Yeah. Because if at all they are doing things the right way, we would know that this is what we had to do to ensure that we are where we are today. But the only thing you see in the media and the public is that our currency is now stronger and better. We are trading at 130, 129. But what are the things that you have done in terms of either fiscal or monetary policy to ensure that the currency gains strength? That is a question that I think they are not able to answer.
Yeah.
So because, look, some of the things that we can claim to maybe improve our currency is all about maybe when it comes to maybe the fiscal policies, like now government spending and taxation.
Yeah.
Our taxes are rising each and every day. There is no point that we have seen a reduction in terms of taxation in the economy. And if you look at the side of the government spending, we take more taxes but pay the debts.
Exactly.
So there is no circulation of money within the economy itself. So whatever that is taxed from the public is actually going out to repay the debts. So there is nothing left within the economy to sustain it. You see?
And actually, do we even have the records of debt payment? Because that is another thing the public poses the question sometimes. But do we even have those records?
Yeah,
we have been told, yes, we do pay.
I saw loans, it when Jiggy challenged them to put the records clear to the public and tell the public exactly how much is our debt and what are these debts doing. Yeah. Why did we take the debts? That is not something that they are able to do. We are only being told that we have the following amount. But when it comes to what exactly is the debt you have collected, or rather, what is this loan that you took is going to do, then that is also another question that cannot be answered. So that is why when Jiggy came out clearly and asked, if at all you are saying that this is the total amount of debt we have as a country, then why don't you also tell us what these money, these funds are going to do, and why were they taken? Because when you are going to take a loan, you have to attach the reason for taking the loan. Is it recurrent expenditure? Is it for development expenditure? So here is a case where the only reason we need a debt is to take the debt, but that is the only reason.
Ni kama nachukua loan kutoka kwako, I go and repay another person.
Exactly.
Then after some time, I know this, you'll be asking for that loan.
I go
and
back
take it to somebody else.
Yes.
I come and pay you. I know that guy will be patient for some time. Take it to another person else when the moment atakuja ataulizia.
So it's all about circulating the loan within these few individual, few lenders.
Exactly.
But it's perpetual because it ends up, you don't actually become free at the end of the day.
Yeah, you'll never be.
You will never be free. So it's like, as long as we are taking the loans and there is no development expenditure program attached to these loans, then it means that these loans are going into, most of them are going into the recurrent expenditure. Yeah. The public servants' salaries, and 2 billion is lost every day. So due to corruption, and so most of our debts are actually mismanaged. There is that fiscal mismanagement within the economy. We end up paying for things that do not support the economy. That is a big challenge.
We focus on consumption.
Yeah, it's more of consumption because look, when Kibaki left office, we were having a total debt of around 1.3 billion trillion. I mean, around 1.3 trillion. Right now, it's at 10.5.
Jesus Christ,
trillion. And which means every individual in Kenya right now owes the lenders about around over 200,000 each Kenyan.
Each Kenyan.
Yes, each Kenyan. Over 200,000. Whether you are sick in the hospital, whether you have school fees, whatever it is that you have as a problem that may also put you in financial constraint, that aside, you put that aside, you still owe the government over 200,000. That is something that the government must ensure that you repay so that they can be able to repay the loan.
So
it doesn't matter the loans you have with the banks. That is put aside. You may be having millions of loans in the banks to pay, but the government also needs you to pay 200,000 on top of that. You see? But during the Kibaki era, it was about 30K. That is all that an individual owed a state, around 30,000. Right now it is over 200,000.
Wow.
In just like a matter of
6 times.
Yeah, 6 times. In just a matter of almost 14 years.
Around 14 years.
10 years.
So by the time tumefika 2027,
will be 500,000 plus.
Yeah, it can be double plus.
Yeah, it will be double. Yeah. And this government is over borrowing. Yeah. Yet, in terms of expenditure, there is nothing that we can show of it. Because, again, if you look at the statistics, by the time we are going to it in this presidency, in this government alone, from the borrowing itself, the total amount of debt is 10.51 trillion. And the domestic debt out of that total is around 5.4, which means that it is our banks that are doing business with the government. So which means the banks are taking savings from wananchi, but instead of lending it to businesses, private firms and manufacturing businesses, they don't do that. They take money and do transactions, or rather business with the government. They invest in bonds, treasury bills and bonds. You see, that is where the money that has been taken from the public through banks in terms of savings go to. It goes back to the government. It doesn't come back to common mwananchi, which means the little that people have, which is saved in the banks, doesn't come back to the people through investment in terms of business continuity. So basically, the government has taken money from the people through banks. So people don't have money in their pockets, because even the businesses themselves, they don't have anywhere to go to borrow to do the business. That is why businesses are collapsing, because borrowing is so high. If a government is able to give a bank around 17% of interest, and this is risk-free, there is no risk that you may lose your money. Businesses may collapse. Those things do happen. Such risks are there. But here is a case where the government is offering you 17% interest rate on the borrowing. And there is a business somewhere that needs you to give them the same, maybe with around, even if you say the same amount of interest. Where will you go to? You will automatically choose the government, because at the end of the day, they will have to pay it back. Exactly. But businesses is like a gamble. So you end up giving the government this money. Businesses are left without anywhere to go to borrow. So the economy has been shrunk to an extent that we are not able to survive through either businesses, or rather even the income itself has also gone down, because even the individuals are not also able to go to the banks to get loans for their maybe private businesses, the small scale businesses. That is the problem here, So economy in general is not doing well, and I don't see anywhere in particular we can cite to indicate that there is improvement. I don't see anywhere I can talk of improvement. If at all there is economic growth, which they maybe indicate that the GDP, our GDP has grown by maybe such projections. You see, the projections are particularly clear because it is the banks that are making such huge profits in the economy. So it is our commercial banks that are contributing to our GDP, but our private sector is not doing anything in regards to improving the economy.
And why can we just have a public domain or a website that indicates the our current debt, the amount the government has paid, and so that the public can actually have a track record of what's going on in the country. You can always be able to check on how much are we paying in terms of debt, how much do we have, what are our current borrowings. Can it just be made as simple as that?
It may be simple in terms of maybe pronouncements, but in practice, it becomes a challenge because that basically means that we are the government is going to expose itself to public scrutiny. Something that
they don't want.
They never like.
They don't.
They don't like it at all. So they would want to make it a little bit very, very confidential, such that only maybe now when it comes to events like now the State of the Nation address, that is when they now come with such information. To it's like now this was just something that you don't even need to know. But because we care about you, let's tell you that our economy is growing, we are paying debts in this regard. It's like these are things that the public need not to know. And unless it is the government that makes such pronouncements, it's like we are being done a favor. Something that the people ought to have in their public records. So they are more of trying to. It's just a matter of games, playing games with the people, because at the end of the day, if at all you want to put that clearly every now and then, it simply means that if you borrowed today, we would know that this amount that you have borrowed, it's going to do what?
To do what exactly? Like
it will be indicated that we currently in this month of maybe November, we have borrowed this amount, and the purpose for borrowing is to do this
project and this project.
Yes. If they were to do that, then automatically they know they will not be able to survive.
Exactly.
They won't have that peace.
So, and then you've mentioned something else just when you are discussing about companies. And can you imagine right now, as we are talking, like over 50% of workers in like 4 companies, multinationals, we're talking about multinationals,
yes,
are set to lose their job. And some of these companies are Procter & Gamble, G4S, Australian-based Titanium. And which other one? I think those ones. This information actually was released last week. Last week. So imagine like in those 4 multinationals, 50% of the workers will lose their job, and some of these companies are actually ceasing their operations in Kenya.
Yes. But basically, it's like our physical space has become too small to sustain these companies. Because if you look at currently how our taxation policy is programmed, it is not progressive in any way. Businesses are continuing to pay more to the government, and at the same time, people are also being squeezed on the other end, which means the businesses are lacking enough income to put back to maybe now for reinvestment, and at the same time, people also lack enough net income to do the purchases and engage in consumption. So it basically means that this is a double tragedy for businesses. People don't have money, and at the same time, businesses also have less and less income flowing in. They are not going to operate, and the government keeps on introducing new taxes. Each and every day. We see new taxes coming in, which means even our tax environment is not something that is futuristic. You can't tell what is going to happen tomorrow. Are you able to sit and plan your business operations annually without any changes in taxation? It's not possible. So it leaves the businesses at at the mercy of the government. No?
And does it even sound realistic? You're trying to increase the tax base at the same time trying to increase the tax rate. Does it even make sense?
No, the most important thing the government ought to have done is expanding the tax base, not raising the taxes. Because expanding the tax base would automatically mean that you don't even need to overcharge or overtax people, because you have brought in so many into the illegal economy. But you look at this case where out of 52 million Kenyans, only 8 million, around 8 million are taxed.
8 million.
Only 8 million are taxed, which means that all the debts that we have as a country, the people who are actually burdened to pay it, to repay it, are 8 million. Because those are the people in the KRA database to repay, to give the tax to the government. So you realize that these people are burdened completely, and the government is not thinking of how they can introduce more people to expand this base, but they are thinking of how they can introduce new taxes to ensure that these people continue giving more to them,
and at the same time increase the taxes.
Yes. So that is the problem, because right now it's like somebody who is earning maybe 100K is going to maybe return home with about maybe 60
or 7, around 670.
Yes, around 60 to 70.
72
so you see, which means the government is going with a whole 30K.
30K. From this single person.
From just one person. And this is not enough. They're still looking on how to introduce more taxes so that they can continue taking more. You see? If at all these 8 million people would be left to pay the little that they used to pay, but we figure out how we can increase our tax base so that we can say that maybe annually we need to target maybe 2 million or 3 million people to join our tax base. You see? It means that we would be having a situation where people are paying little, but
they can able to actually come up with businesses, create their own opportunities.
Yes. So the little is coming from many people. We at the end of the day, the government will be able to meet its revenue targets. But demanding more from people is actually making people to run away from now the legal structure of doing business to start now illicit businesses. Because now it's like if I continue to stay within the legal system, then automatically what is happening is that I'm going to work for the government alone, not even myself. So what do? I have to start thinking on other possible ways of making money, and they are not straight ways of making money. I have to go outside the legal system. That is what the government is doing, is pushing people outside its tax bracket to start thinking of to innovate ways of how they can earn without the influence of the government's taxation. So many people are going to run away, and this is something that may happen soon. Many people may start thinking of how they can get out of that situation and start running other businesses, illegal businesses, illicit businesses, which is also actually there is a certain. I saw some statistics by, is it KNBS, that the government is losing almost around 52 billion annually, maybe through illicit business transactions.
Oh, 52 billion.
Yes,
52 billion
52 annually. So you see, it's like we are going to even see this increasing more and more, because what the government is doing is that they are not attracting people into there, but they are forcing people to leave through overtaxation.
That is like losing around 4 billion in a month.
Yes.
Imagine 4 billion in a month.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and that is basically the situation.
Yeah.
So we are. What I see is a possible crisis that is not going to be manageable if at all we don't think outside the box, or rather without even the box itself. If the government continues to operate this way, then we are not going to help ourselves come out of this situation. Yeah, because when we talk of maybe today we are talking about price decrease in unga, the maize flour, the wheat flour. But look, do we even produce these goods?
That is number one.
That is why. That is why they are coming up with the idea that now we have a strong the reserves, like, the exchange reserves has gone up, which means they are so much interested in importation rather than local production. Because if a few months back the prices of wheat flour were high, then all of a sudden they are down. The question is, when did we produce wheat in our country? And the answer is that we never produce. So which means we depend on importation. It's more of food security instead of thinking about how we can remain sovereign, even amidst global crisis, because those are the things that affected us in sometime in the past, which led to maybe now increase in the food prices. The government didn't think of coming up with a new maybe policy or program on how to boost local production. They came up with the fertilizer.
That's another
program,
topic.
It was all fake sand that were given to our farmers. And they're even still claiming that these farmers need to pay this for this fertilizer, even up to date. Yes, they're still claiming that some have not paid for this fertilizer, yet they were fake. It was subsidized but fake. There was nothing that these people got. So these are the things that they keep mentioning, that we gave the subsidized fertilizers and that led to maybe now agricultural production. But every farmer in Kenya, if you ask, you can see that the public outcry was enormous when it comes to the fertilizer that the government distributed to the people. So farmers were duped to believe that they were helped by the government. I don't see anywhere the government can tell us that these things have improved because they have worked out a plan. No, I don't see.
And you still have to remember, we have a problem with maize production. Not even wheat flour, just even leave wheat flour alone. We
have always had the Galana Gulalu irrigation scheme, which was supposed to produce thousands of tons of maize, but it has never been accomplished. Yet a lot of money was spent on that irrigation program. Up to date, nothing is working. The machines that were taken to those farms are eaten by rust. Nothing is going on in this country, which means we still will have to depend on maybe Brazil, Congo, where maize, Uganda is coming from. Everything that we consume in this country comes from foreign countries. That is the reality. So there is nothing that happens locally that we can say is boosting our economy. Our economy totally depends on imports.
And then we still have to be sensitive in a way, because ni kama tunachezewa tu game ya PR hapa. It's all about PR, like marketing yourself. The government is marketing themselves back to the public, because think about this. Somebody is trying to reduce the price of unga, right? Because they know that unga is the most selling product to the wananchi, right? As long as unga may reduce, then the wananchi might be, at least they will be pleased.
Say that, okay, we are doing something.
We are doing something. So somebody reduces the price of unga, right? But now we are forgetting that at the same time, the person has increased the taxes.
Yes.
Both the base and the rates. So at the end of the day, if you come back to how much you're earning, and we also have to remember, for I don't know for how many years, we haven't seen any substantial increase in terms of salaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still have that your stagnant salary, and the person increases the taxes, the rates plus the pays. Now, and then he comes to reduce the price of unga. Do you even have that money to buy that unga?
It's like let me pick from your left hand and take it back to the right hand.
Yeah.
You know, that is the game here.